My name is Ethan Carter, I'm 32 years old, and I work as a financial analyst for a mid-sized consulting firm based out of Dallas, Texas. It's not a glamorous position by any means, but it pays decently, around $95,000 a year, and I live comfortably enough. My wife, Isabel Mitchell, who's 30, comes from a completely different world. Her family has what people call old money. Her father, Lawrence Mitchell, built a commercial real estate empire worth somewhere in the 8 figures, and her mother, Patricia, has never worked a single day in her entire life. She spent decades attending charity galas, organizing luncheons, and looking down on anyone who didn't grow up with a trust fund. Patricia has despised me from the moment Isabel first brought me home. In her eyes, I wasn't good enough. I didn't come from the right family. I didn't go to an Ivy League school. I didn't have a pedigree or connections that mattered in her social circles. My crime, as far as she was concerned, was being solidly middle class and having the audacity to love her daughter anyway. Isabel and I have been married for 5 years now, together for 7 total. And Patricia has made every single one of those years absolutely exhausting. She's perfected the art of the backhanded compliment. "Oh, you're still driving that Honda. How wonderfully practical." Or, "I always thought Isabel would end up with someone a bit more ambitious." Once, at Thanksgiving dinner, she actually said out loud, in front of the entire family, that she'd hoped her daughter would marry someone with more drive and vision. I let it slide. I always let it slide. Isabel would apologize later, tell me her mother was just like that, and I'd move on because I loved her. Or at least, I thought I did. 3 weeks ago, everything I thought I knew came crashing down. I came home early from work. A client meeting I was supposed to attend got cancelled at the last minute, so I left the office around mid-afternoon. I unlocked the door to our apartment and immediately heard voices coming from the living room. It was Isabel and her mother, talking. I was about to announce myself, call out a casual hello, when I heard a number that stopped me cold. $1 million, Isabel. Cash, in your account by Friday, if you file for divorce this week. I froze in the hallway, one hand still on my briefcase, my heart suddenly pounding. Patricia's voice continued, calm and matter-of-fact. "You've wasted 5 years on him, sweetheart. You're 30 now. Your window for finding someone appropriate is closing. I'm offering you a fresh start. Take the money, divorce him, and I'll introduce you to Henry Langston. He just made partner at his father's firm. He's exactly the kind of man you should have married in the first place." I waited. I waited for my wife to shut her down. To tell her mother that our marriage wasn't for sale. To defend me, to defend us, to say something, anything, that showed she still believed in what we'd built together. Instead, I heard silence. Long, stretching silence. Then Isabel's voice, quieter but perfectly clear. That's a lot of money, Mom. I need to think about it." "What's there to think about?" Patricia pressed. "He makes 90-something thousand a year. I'm offering you more than 10 years of his salary to walk away. You'd be stupid not to take it." Another pause. Then Isabel said, almost in a whisper, "Okay. I'll take it." My mother-in-law actually laughed. It was a soft, satisfied sound. "Finally. I knew you'd come to your senses." Something inside me shattered in that moment. Something quiet and fundamental. I stepped into the living room. Both of them went sheet white. "Hey, honey," I said calmly, setting my briefcase down by the door. "Hi, Patricia." I'd always called her by her first name instead of Mom, just to needle her a little. It was one of the few small rebellions I allowed myself. Isabel started stammering immediately. "Ethan, that wasn't, you didn't hear, we were just talking hypothetically." "Hypothetically," I repeated slowly. "About divorcing me for $1 million. Interesting hypothetical." My mother-in-law recovered faster than my wife did. She actually sat up straighter in her chair, like she was proud of what she'd done. "Yes, I offered her money to leave you. And she accepted. You should be grateful, Ethan. At least now you know exactly where you stand." I turned to Isabel. Her face was flushed, her eyes darting between me and her mother. "Is that true?" I asked. "You're taking the money?" She finally looked directly at me. There was something defiant in her expression now, something I'd never seen before. Maybe I am. Maybe Mom's right. Maybe I have been settling. That word, settling. 5 years of my life. 5 years of love, compromise, effort, sacrifice. And to her, I was something she'd been settling for. I didn't cry. I didn't yell. I didn't throw anything or slam doors. I just nodded slowly. Okay, I said. If that's your decision, I respect it. My mother-in-law looked genuinely surprised. I think she'd expected drama, begging, maybe even anger. Instead, I walked calmly to our bedroom, opened the nightstand drawer, and pulled out a manila envelope I'd been keeping there for months. Then I walked back out and set it on the coffee table. Before you finalize anything, I said evenly, I think your father deserves to see this. Isabel frowned, confused. She reached for the envelope and opened it. Inside were DNA test results and a typed letter explaining what they meant. About 8 months ago, Lawrence had asked me for a favor. He was updating his estate plan and wanted to include genetic health information for his descendants. He has a family history of heart disease, and he wanted to be thorough. He asked if I could help him understand how to get one of those ancestry DNA tests done. I walked him through the process. He took the test. The results came back a few weeks later. And according to those results, Lawrence Mitchell was not Isabel's biological father. He called me, completely devastated, asking what it meant. I explained as gently as I could that according to the DNA markers, they shared no genetic connection. He broke down on the phone. I told him I'd look into it quietly, that maybe there was an error, maybe something got mixed up at the lab. I'm a financial analyst. I'm good at digging through records, finding patterns, following paper trails. I pulled what I could, old credit card statements, travel logs, calendar records. And I found something. Around the time Isabel was conceived, Patricia had been having a months-long affair with her tennis instructor, a man named Mark Jensen. The timeline matched perfectly. I sat on this information for 8 months. I didn't tell Lawrence what I'd found because I wasn't sure what to do with it. I didn't want to blow up a family. I didn't want to hurt him more than he was already hurting. But now, in this moment, with my wife agreeing to take money to abandon our marriage and her mother sitting smugly in my living room, it felt like the right time. Isabel read the letter. Her face went through about a dozen emotions in 10 seconds. What is this?" she whispered. "DNA results showing your dad isn't your biological father," I said calmly. "And my research into who probably is. You should ask your mom about her tennis instructor from 31 years ago." Patricia snatched the papers from Isabel's hands, her eyes scanning frantically. Then she went pale. "This is fake," she said, her voice shaking. "This is some kind of trick. You fabricated this." "It's not fake," I said. "Your husband took the test himself. Those are his actual results. I've been sitting on this information for months because I didn't want to hurt anyone. But you know what, Patricia? You've spent 5 years treating me like garbage. Your daughter just sold our marriage for a check. So I think it's time your husband knows exactly what kind of woman he's been married to for 35 years. Patricia stood up, her hands trembling. "You wouldn't dare." "Already done," I said. I emailed him copies 2 minutes before I walked into this room. Check his phone. It's probably going off right about now. Right on cue, we all heard a car door slam outside. Heavy footsteps pounded up the stairs. The front door flew open, and Lawrence burst in, his face red, his hands shaking, holding his phone. "Is it true?" he demanded, staring at Patricia. "Tell me it isn't true." What followed was the most spectacular implosion of a family I've ever witnessed in my life, and I had a front row seat. The confrontation in our living room lasted about 2 hours. Lawrence demanded answers. Patricia cycled through every manipulation tactic in the book: denial, deflection, tears, claiming the tests were rigged, accusing me of fabricating evidence to ruin her. But here's the thing about DNA, it doesn't lie. And here's the thing about Lawrence, he's a businessman who built an empire on facts, data, and numbers. He wasn't buying the emotional theatrics. 35 years, he kept saying, his voice breaking. 35 years, and I thought she was mine. Isabel tried to play peacemaker. Dad, can we just calm down and talk about this rationally? Rationally. He turned on her, his voice rising. You were about to take $1 million to divorce your husband. Your mother's been lying to me for 3.5 decades. And you want rational? That's when Patricia made her critical mistake. She went on the attack. So what if I had an affair? You were always working, Lawrence. You neglected me. I was lonely. Mark actually paid attention to me. Lawrence stopped moving. So you admit it. She realized her mistake immediately. I didn't mean. You just admitted it, Lawrence said coldly. In front of witnesses. He looked at me. Ethan, you recorded this, didn't you? I held up my phone. I'm not stupid. Lawrence nodded once, then walked out. He didn't say goodbye to his wife or his daughter. He just left. The moment the door closed, Isabel turned on me. How could you do this? You destroyed my family. Your mother offered you money to leave me, I said quietly. You said yes. Your mother lied to your father for 35 years. I just told the truth. If that destroyed your family, maybe your family was built on a pretty shaky foundation to begin with. I was never actually going to take the money, she shouted. You said, I'll take it. I heard you, Isabel. Clear as day. I was exploring options. And now I'm exploring mine, I said. I want a divorce. She blinked, stunned. What? No. You can't divorce me. I was supposed to divorce you. The entitlement. My God, the sheer entitlement. Pretty sure it works both ways, I said. I'll have my lawyer contact yours. You should probably stay with your mom tonight. Or what's left of that arrangement. She started crying then. Not sad crying, angry crying. This isn't how this was supposed to go. Life's funny like that, I said. I spent that night alone in our apartment. And honestly, I slept better than I had in months. The weight of that secret had been crushing me. Now it was out. Now everyone was dealing with the truth. The next few days were absolute chaos. Lawrence filed for divorce immediately. After 35 years of marriage, he was done. Apparently, he'd been having doubts for years but never had proof. Now he did, and there was no going back. Patricia tried to contest it. She claimed the DNA evidence was illegally obtained. Her lawyer told her bluntly that wasn't how it worked. Lawrence had taken the test voluntarily. The results were his to share. Isabel bombarded me with text messages. First came anger, you ruined everything. Then came sadness, please, can we just talk? Then manipulation, don't you remember how good we were together? And finally, threats, I'll tell everyone you were abusive. That last one was when I hired a lawyer and stopped responding entirely. By day 3, Patricia was in full damage control mode. She actually showed up at my office. Security called me from the lobby. There's a woman here claiming she's your mother-in-law. She's pretty insistent. I went downstairs and found her standing in the lobby, dressed like she was attending a charity gala instead of confronting the men who'd just exposed her decades-long deception. We need to talk, she said. Privately. I don't think that's a good idea, I replied. I'll make it worth your while. I actually laughed. Are you trying to bribe me now? That's your move. Everyone has a price, Ethan. Name yours to make this all go away. Okay, I said. A time machine. Go back and not be a terrible person for 35 years. Think you can swing that? She went red. You think you're so clever. You have no idea who you're dealing with. I have connections you can't even imagine. Cool, I said. Looking forward to it. Now please leave before I have security escort you out. This entire conversation is definitely being recorded by building cameras, by the way. She left, but not before throwing one more threat over her shoulder. This isn't over. It was very much just beginning. 3 weeks later, the divorce proceedings were in full swing. My lawyer was fantastic, I'd found her through a colleague who'd gone through a messy split. She laid out my situation pretty clearly. Your wife brought virtually no assets into the marriage. You've been the primary earner. The apartment lease is in your name only. She has no legal claim to most of what you own. The complicating factor is the length of the marriage. 5 years is enough that she could argue for some spousal support. How much are we talking? I asked. Depends on the judge. Could be minimal. Could be a year or two of partial support while she gets on her feet. But given the circumstances, her agreeing to take money to divorce you, which you have recorded, I think we can argue bad faith and minimize any payout. Fine, I said. I can live with that. But Isabel and Patricia weren't going quietly. In week 2, I got served with a restraining order request. Isabel claimed I'd been emotionally abusive, controlling, and that she feared for her safety. My lawyer was furious. This is a standard play. Claim abuse, get the upper hand in divorce proceedings. Do you have any witnesses to your relationship? Anyone who can testify you weren't abusive? I had plenty. Friends, co-workers who'd met her at company events, and even her own sister, Claire, who'd always liked me and was apparently furious at how everything was playing out. The restraining order hearing was a complete joke. Isabel showed up looking like a frightened rabbit, speaking in a soft voice about how intimidated she'd always felt around me. Then my lawyer presented evidence, text messages between us showing normal, healthy communication, photos from vacations where we looked happy, and the recording of the $1 million offer conversation where Isabel's voice was anything but frightened. The judge denied the restraining order. He actually said from the bench, "This appears to be an attempt to gain leverage in divorce proceedings rather than a genuine safety concern." Isabel's lawyer looked embarrassed. Isabel looked furious. But the real fireworks were happening on the other side of the family. Lawrence's divorce from Patricia was getting uglier by the day. 35 years of marriage, significant assets, and now paternity fraud in the mix. His lawyer was arguing that the entire marriage was built on a lie, that Patricia had deceived him into raising a child that wasn't his, which constituted fraud. In some states, this can actually affect divorce settlements. Patricia's response was to go nuclear. She started telling everyone who would listen that Lawrence was the villain, that he was a cold, neglectful husband who'd driven her to seek comfort elsewhere, that he was now abandoning his family over ancient history. She conveniently left out the part where she'd spent 35 years lying about paternity, the part where she'd tried to bribe her daughter into divorcing me, and pretty much everything else that made her look bad. But here's where karma really started to kick in. Lawrence had his lawyer subpoena financial records. And that's when they found it. Patricia had been skimming money for years. Nothing huge, maybe 20 or 30,000 here and there, but into a separate account she'd never disclosed. She'd been building her own little nest egg, probably planning an exit strategy she never executed. This was a huge deal legally. Hidden assets in a divorce. Judges hate that. It tanks your credibility and can seriously affect how assets get divided. But the real bombshell came from an unexpected source, the tennis instructor himself. Yeah, Mark Jensen was still alive. He was in his 70s now, retired, living off a modest pension. Lawrence's lawyer tracked him down and got a deposition. Mark confirmed the affair. He confirmed the timeline. And then he dropped a bomb nobody expected. Patricia had contacted him 15 years ago, asking for money to keep quiet about their history. She'd been blackmailing him on and off for a decade and a half. $30,000 total over the years. That's where some of her hidden money had come from. Lawrence was absolutely devastated. Not just that his wife had cheated. Not just that his daughter wasn't biologically his. But that she'd been running schemes and lies for their entire marriage. I never really knew her, he told me during one of our conversations. We'd actually gotten closer through all this. Strange how tragedy works sometimes. 35 years, and I was married to a complete stranger. Meanwhile, Isabel was spiraling. Without her mother's money, without my income, without the life she'd grown accustomed to, she was stuck. She'd been working as a part-time interior design consultant, which really just meant she occasionally helped her mom's rich friends pick out throw pillows. That income wasn't going to sustain the lifestyle she was used to. She tried crawling back. Showed up at the apartment one evening, tear-streaked and apologetic. I made a mistake, she said. I should never have listened to my mom. Can't we work this out? You agreed to divorce me for money, I said. You said I was something you were settling for. I didn't mean it. I was just confused. My mom was in my ear. And your mom can't make you say things you don't mean, I interrupted. You meant it, Isabel. You just didn't expect consequences. Please, Ethan. I have nowhere to go. You have your mom's place. Or your dad's. Or literally anywhere else. This isn't my problem anymore. I'll tell everyone you forced me out, she threatened. Go ahead, I said. I have recordings, witnesses, and a paper trail. Who do you think people are going to believe? She left. But not before throwing a vase at the wall. Thankfully, it was one she'd bought. I documented the damage anyway. 6 weeks later, both divorces were finalized. Lawrence's divorce from Patricia was brutal but decisive. Given the fraud, the hidden assets, the blackmail scheme, the paternity lie, the judge ruled heavily in his favor. Patricia got a settlement, but way less than she would have gotten in a standard divorce. About 30% of what she'd expected, according to what I heard. He's doing okay now. He sold the big house they'd shared and bought something smaller, quieter. We actually grab lunch once a month. He told me he doesn't blame me for exposing the truth. He said he wishes he'd known decades ago. You gave me the hardest gift anyone's ever given me, he said. The truth. I hate it. But I needed it. He's in therapy now, working through the realization that his entire marriage was built on sand. It's going to take time. Here's the complicated part, though. He still loves Isabel. Not biologically his daughter, sure, but he raised her. 30 years of memories don't disappear because of DNA. They're working on their relationship. It's strained. She's angry at him for abandoning her mother. Delusion runs deep in that family. He's hurt that she chose money over her marriage. But there's something they're worth saving. Maybe. Patricia is living in a condo now instead of the mansion she was used to. She still has money, the settlement wasn't nothing, but her lifestyle took a massive hit. From what I hear, she's still telling anyone who'll listen that she's the victim in all this. That her husband overreacted to one mistake. That I manipulated everyone with fake evidence. Nobody's really buying it. Her social circle quietly dropped her. Turns out rich people don't love associating with someone whose dirty laundry got aired so publicly. The tennis instructor blackmail situation came out in the divorce proceedings, which became somewhat public record. Hard to play the victim when there's a paper trail of you extorting your former affair partner. She tried to contact me once after everything was finalized. Left me a voicemail. I hope you're happy, Ethan. You destroyed a family. You'll pay for this someday. I saved it. Just in case. As for Isabel, our divorce was relatively clean compared to her parents. Short marriage, no kids, clear paper trail of her agreeing to take money to leave me. The judge granted the divorce with minimal spousal support, 6 months, reduced amount, just enough to help her transition. She's living with a friend now. Her design business hasn't exactly taken off. Last I heard through mutual acquaintances, she's talking about going back to school for something more practical. She still blames me for everything. Refuses to acknowledge that she made choices that led here. In her version of events, I'm the villain who weaponized information to destroy her family. Some people will never see themselves clearly. She's one of them. The $1 million offer, by the way. Her mother never would have actually paid it. It was a manipulation tactic. Patricia had maybe $200,000 in her secret account, most of which went to legal fees. The $1 million was always a lie, dangled to get Isabel to make a choice. And Isabel fell for it. As for me, I'm okay. Not great, not terrible. Just okay. The apartment feels bigger now. Quieter. I kept most of the furniture since I'd paid for it anyway. Changed a few things around to make it feel less like ours and more like mine. My friends have been solid. My family's been supportive, though my mom keeps trying to set me up with her coworker's daughter. She's lovely, Ethan. Very stable. Mom, I just got divorced. Give me a minute. Works fine. Nobody at the office really knew the full story, and I prefer it that way. I just showed up, did my job, went home. Am I happy? Honestly, I don't know yet. There's relief, no more mother-in-law from hell, no more pretending everything was fine when it wasn't. But there's also loss. 5 years is a long time. Even if the ending was garbage, there were good moments in there somewhere. My therapist says it's normal to grieve even when the relationship needed to end. I'm working on believing that. Do I regret exposing the DNA stuff? No. Maybe it was nuclear. Maybe it caused a lot of pain. But the lies had already caused pain, just quiet, hidden pain that festered for decades. I ripped the bandage off. It hurt like hell. But at least now everyone's dealing with reality instead of fiction. Lawrence thanked me again last week. Said knowing the truth, however painful, was better than living a comfortable lie. I think he's right. I feel bad for Lawrence, who genuinely didn't deserve any of this. I feel bad for myself, honestly, for wasting 5 years on someone who saw me as something to settle for. But Patricia, Isabel, they made their choices. They valued money over relationships. They built lives on lies and manipulation. They thought they could treat people like garbage without consequences. They were wrong. That's not revenge. That's just reality catching up.